Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inside Student Affairs, an opportunity for parents, families, donors, friends of the university and of student affairs to learn about the work that we do, take a deeper dive, and meet the people who are making the difference every single day. Especially during the pandemic, the Division of Student Affairs has really dug in, started to do innovative programming, and work incredibly hard to hold the university up because our students need us now more than ever. And today with me, I have an amazing colleague, Aisha Pridgen. She's the director of the Office of Student Conduct. And she's going to come to talk to us about how her work has been impacted by the pandemic, what they do, and the way that we're going to change our work in the spring. So, Asha, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Zach.
Good. So, Asha, so tell us about you, Director of Student Conduct. Tell us about your background and how long you've been with Carolina.
Yeah, I have an interesting background. So I actually graduated from Carolina some time ago, went to law school here, and decided to practice family law for about 11 years. Currently, I have now embarked on a new journey to continue my learning. So I'm a lifelong learner. So I'm currently enrolled in the Executive MBA program at the Darden School of Business at UVA. So really excited about learning some new things to bring forward and bring back to the process and to the office. So I think I'm going on my 7th year. It doesn't feel like it. And anytime someone asks me, I will joke and say, I feel like I've only been here for 7 days. Because that's just how much I enjoy the work that I do and the students that I work with.
No, that's fantastic. I have to use that. 7 years equals 7 days. Got it. Well, that's fantastic, and congratulations on the next start of your journey and being dedicated to the place that I know you call home. So let's talk about the work of the office. What is a day like? What's some of the scope of the work, and tell us about the people in your office.
Yeah, I work with first and foremost amazing professional staff. So right now, including me, we have 4 professional staff members. And one of those is a really key feature of the office and has come about as a result of support for the work that we do. And so we have a COVID-19 coordinator who used to be a work study student in our office, and she's fantastic. And she's been with us, I think, since the beginning of February, end of January. And an extension of our staff is our students. And so for most people that know about Carolina and the Carolina Way, they know that we are a student-led process. And so our office also partners, and I see them as an extension of our office, with over 100 students that work really, really hard on the honor system and working with the students that are interacting with the honor system. Some people refer to them as volunteers, but they are far more than volunteers, and they do a lot of the work that we do to carry out the maintenance of community values, ethical thinking, and integrity throughout the campus community.
Oh, no, thank you. And I'm glad you brought up the heart of the work that you do involves students and them sort of, they learn lots of skills. Probably a lot of them go on to be lawyers.
Yeah,
Because of the procedure that they learn.
Mhm.
But talk about talk a little bit more about what a student gets out of it and a little bit more about the honor conduct system.
Yeah, so I want to start with what do students get out of it? And I hope they get out of it what I get out of it, because what I see our process, whether they're volunteering with the honor system or coming through the honor system because of a policy violation, I hope they get a key piece of what it means to be a visionary leader. And so something that I've learned a lot about in this role and beyond is how do we create future leaders that are going to make change and impactful, intentional change, and change with integrity, right? And so I think the students that oversee the process, my professional staff, and the students coming through the process have an opportunity not only to be educated about what it means to be a part of the Carolina community and be held accountable if there's a policy violation, but how do they use the tools that they get through this process to become a future leader, right? And so we're a high impact practice. And so what that means for our process and for our students that engage in the process, whether they're a member of the process or excuse me, a member of the honor system, or whether they're students going through the process, is they learn about integrity. They learn about what it means to be self-aware and what it means to be a part of the community and really set an example, what it means to build trust, and how that is so key and important to being a leader, and to have people lead and want to be led by you as a leader. And so that's what I see as the key focus of our office. I think sometimes when people think about the Office of Student Conduct, they think of we just address student behavior, but we do so much more than that. And that's really, I think, what my professional staff and our students really try to educate and share with the community, is that we're much more than just the honor system. We're much more than the alcohol policy. We are a resource for so many.
Fantastic. I like that. A resource for so many. And speaking of resources, not only do you have the intellectual capital of the best and brightest students in the country, in Carolina, but now with the help of the Tribe Foundation, you mentioned the COVID-19 coordinator. Now tell us about why that's so important, and also include what the pandemic has done to your work.
Yeah, so I think backward a lot. So I'm going to start with your last question, which is the impact of the global pandemic, and then we'll talk about our COVID-19 coordinator. So the global pandemic, I think, has impacted us in really significant ways, and that, human interaction as a part of our process, being able to be in the same room with your counsel, for our students that are coming through the process, being able to engage with them and preparing for cases is something that's really important. And even for our professional staff, being able to interact with students in person is so important to the student development piece, and we're not able to do that. And so we quickly transitioned, like so many offices, and I know many other institutions doing student conduct. We had to quickly pivot back in the spring of last year and really try to make this remote, virtual hearing process, meetings, all sort of continue to do all the things that we were doing before, which is to make sure students understand we want to support them and we want to get them through this process in a timely way, and an efficient way, and a fair and equitable way. And so those things are all key and important to our process and the continuity of our process. So one of the things the COVID coordinator has been able, or has allowed us to do, particularly relevant to community standards related to the COVID-19 and the global pandemic, we've been able to add an extra arm to our office so that we can continue to do the core functions of our office, and to also manage the community standards and the behavior related to that policy as well.
Oh, and so it seems like, I mean, it's so intentional, and that's one of the amazing, reasons that I wanted to have this conversation, is to talk about that it's not always about just getting in trouble and being penalized and facing some consequence, but you've embedded leadership, integrity, the Carolina way into your process, and being intentional about ways that we can continue to teach students how to live those values. And that's important, because I'll let you say, what are some of the biggest myths that people have about your office?
The biggest bets? Is that what you said, Zach?
Myth.
Myths. Oh yeah, all the things you just said. You'll never hear me talk about a punitive process. You'll never hear me talk about guilt or not guilty. We have really been intentional about how the language that we use, and as members of student affairs and in higher ed, we need to be very intentional about the language that we use and how that impacts others. And so the biggest myths, or one of the myths, is that we're a punitive process and that we're not out to support our students. And oftentimes if you talk to one of our professional staff members in our office, they will tell you in response to that question is that most students will come into our space, and after they meet with us, they will say, this was not at all what I was expecting. I was very stressed out. I was very worried, but you have made this process a lot more less strenuous than I thought it was going to be. And so that is the key myth that I hope people will take away from this time together, is that we are here to help support our students, but to also hold them accountable and help them understand how their behavior impacts others. And,
Sure.
you know, these are all things that are going to shape our decisions and who we are in the future.
No, absolutely. I mean, talk about being a good neighbor.
Yeah.
What you learned here can definitely change that. Let's talk two more things where we try to keep these in the 10 to 15-minute hour, for our audience. But talk about the spring. And you mentioned having to be impacted by COVID. How do you bring this back online? Will you keep a virtual option for some of your hearings? What does the spring look like for you as we potentially anticipate a semi-normal experience in the fall?
Yeah. So to quickly answer the question, but to be specific about my answer, is that we're going to do what's going to best serve our community. So what we've found through this virtual world with the global pandemic is that some of our students thrive in interacting with our process in a virtual environment, while other students need the in-person, more formal, what we had in the past experience. And my goal is to make sure that we're working with our students so long as we can do and reasonably do so throughout the spring and going into the fall, and really helping us lead the process and how we pivot to in person, or if we stay at a hybrid place. But I think there's also always going to be a place for the hybrid component, whether that just be for meetings or just some quick student engagement. But we'll see what the fall brings. But the spring, we're going to continue with the virtual environment.
No, that's fantastic. We mentioned that you had, the Triad Foundation helped a lot of our student affairs areas and gave the opportunity for that COVID-19, coordinator position. What are some of the potential needs that you have, especially as we go back into a normal space to support the work that you do?
Yeah, so we want to do a lot of programming always, even outside of the global pandemic, but even more so in the global pandemic. We think it's important, if we're going to hold students accountable for their behaviors and hope that they learn from the experience, they need to understand what's expected of them. And so I think it's important, and what would be supportive for our office is to be able to have the bandwidth and the capacity to do some more education throughout our campus community. Emails are very helpful, but we also need to be aware of the key modes of communication that our students are using. And so I don't know if email is the best way to make sure that we're informing our community. So I would love to be able to have the capacity and the bandwidth to think more about that, and then how we can staff our office so that we can do some more of that education and ultimately prevention work as well.
Sure. No, and this office, your office, is one of the key portions of the student experience. Is making sure again that students know about leadership, integrity, and the Carolina way. And we can't thank you enough for the work that you do. And if you could let everyone know how to find you.
You can find me at studentconduct.unc.edu online. We have a great partnership with our students who also have lots of information about the honor system there. So we're always looking for the next future leader to be a part of our process. So if you want to know more about the honor system, you can find us there. Or if you want to just know more about who we are as members of the community and professional staff, you can find information about us there as well.
Well, fantastic. Well, it's good to have a conversation with you today. I hope everyone gets a chance to enjoy this. And this has been another amazing episode of Inside Student Affairs with Director of Student Conduct, Aisha Pridgen. We hope that you enjoy. We hope that you continue to follow the work of Student Affairs, because we've done an amazing job of holding the university up during this pandemic. And the purpose of this series is to show how integral Student Affairs is to the work at UNC-Chapel Hill. So thanks, everybody. Take care.